Previously on the Frontier Farmer. We are going to be onto some new plans, and that is going to be around wood regeneration. Chuck had a good idea, which was to create a bit of a tree nursery. Right, we'll drop a few bales off here. I don't think the sheep are going to take all the grass, get these cows fed, and I don't think this will be the first batch of TMR we have to make over the winter period. We need to take some manure over there to supply the wood farm, or so Chuck tells me. We'll have to cut down a few trees, ironically, to make space for the tree farm. Thank you, Richard. Absolute gem as always. Quite a heavy load this, but no match for the mighty skidder. And here it is, our wood farm. Richard is just about to get set up in the Volvo and do some ploughing, so we're going to watch over him this afternoon. So it might just be bunkering down over winter until the spring arrives. Merry Christmas, everybody! Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Frontier Farmer at the Dark Forest. It is now March time, and we've had a good amount of fun and keeping busy over the winter period. We celebrated a bit of Christmas with our Lake Point settlers, and looked after the animals, and did a few odd jobs around the farm. but it's now springtime yet again, which is good news as we have plenty of jobs to be getting on with for the next season. Now there is some rain on the forecast, but that's not going to hinder us much today. We're heading over to Westcreek as we are able to now plant our potatoes yet again, which is good news. I was thinking actually we might do one field of potatoes and one field of sugar beets, but if we do a quick tour of the homestead we can see that our fields are just springing to life again now that the spring is here. We've got our canola and our barley drilled, so that will be growing nicely in the months to come, and the grass over in Newfield has sprung into life again, and I'm hoping will be fully grown in a month or two. But yep, over to Westcreek first of all this morning to meet Richard. I think the plan is that we are going to do the manure spreading, which we opted not to do. We ploughed the field previously, but we will manure spread and make sure that it's nicely freshly fertilised to the primary level. And then I think Richard is going to do the potato and sugar beet planting, potentially. Haven't decided yet. We might do both fields of potatoes, but sugar beets might be good to top up the sugar beet stocks, as a lot of sugar beet does go to the sugar mill. Good to be back over at Westcreek. Right, we'll get parked up, hop in the Volvo and grab the manure spreader. Here she is, looking a little bit dirty. Fire her up. Oh, I think Richard must have been using this a little bit, because it was not a cold start. It fired right into life. And our trusty old Fortrit manure spreader is what we want. I'm not sure if there's a full amount in here, but I'm hoping it's going to be enough to see us through both fields. If not, we'll have to journey back to the homestead just to top up. 85%. We can only hope that that is going to do us for both fields. So yeah, we can just dive straight in and get started. And we are doing this job because Richard is not much of a fan of manure spreading, so he likes to leave that to us. Here we go, let's get this manure spread and see you when we're finished. There we go, manure spreading done. Always a quick job over in Westcreek. Still got 8% left in here, so we did pretty well. Now there is a strip in Westcreek South, which you can see ahead of me. That is not going to, unfortunately, take the manure because it is already at the secondary level of fertiliser. I think it was a mishap with us planting the potatoes in the last season. So yeah, it is fully fertilised, that patch, so we don't need to manure spread it, but that is okay. Let's park up the manure spreader and we can grab our potato planter, and it will be for Richard to come and grab. And that is a good point actually. We obviously have a potato planter. I don't think that takes sugar beets. I think it's actually our old cyclo planter that will do sugar beets. So perhaps we'll do both fields with potatoes, as I did want to make sure we created the ridges this time. As yeah, unfortunately we last time we planted potatoes could not make the ridges, but I'm fairly confident that we have sorted out the reason as to why, and we will make some glorious ridges this time. Now this ridge maker here is effectively going to apply the secondary level of fertilizer on our potatoes. Once we have planted it, it kind of acts as a kind of ridge maker, and it helps to firm up those ridges and remove anything that we do not want in the field. And effectively that adds a layer of fertilizer, which is pretty interesting. So let's grab this. There we go. Yep, we cannot change crop. It is purely potatoes, but that is fine. I think we'll get potatoes planted in both fields. I'll just set the tractor here whilst we wait for Richard to come along. I think Richard, it's fair to say, is the most available Westcreek farmer. He does do a lot over here. And since before the winter period, we created in November this wood farm, and Chuck has been managing this really well for us, and it has created a good amount of wood for all of our various wood productions. So we are sustainably making wood now in the dark forest. Not that we need to, because there's a lot of wood around, but it does help protect the forest. Right, I think Richard is getting set up, so let's observe him planting. Right, there we go. Richard is done. Thank you, Richard. Great work. You have managed to plant the potatoes in quite nicely in both fields, Westcreek North and Westcreek South. A little bit tricky, some of the turning at the ends of the fields, no headland. But yeah, because of the direction that the ridges need to be in, it is a little bit awkward, but that has planted rather successfully. So we've got the primary level of fertilizer in both fields. Now it's time to do our ridge compacting or ridge making. Even though they are planted in ridges, this tool is going to apply the secondary level of fertilizer, which is really good for us as it means we save a good amount of man-made fertilizer. Let's get this planter dropped off, and we can switch over to the ridge maker. And I think what we'll do is we'll give Richard a break. We'll do some of the ridge making ourselves, and then Richard can take over and do the next field. I'm just going to see if we can make this tool any wider. I think it is the same width as the planter, 2 meters. So yeah, it does make for slow work, but it is fairly necessary. I think the workstation is down the end here. As I suspected, it cannot be increased in size, but we have just serviced up the Volvo to make sure that is nice and up to standard. Right, I guess there's nothing more for us to do than to get started. Richard is going to look on whilst we do this. So let's head on in. We'll try and line up so we are doing the ridges most effectively. But there we go. You can see that the ground is darkening because we are applying a secondary level of fertilizer. Right, I'm going to crack on and get this all covered off. And then I think Richard will take over for Westcreek South. And there we go. In true Richard fashion, Richard has scurried off, but that is fine. We can park up the ridge marker. And it is fair to say that that has gone pretty well. We have fertilized the fields, which is a nice freebie actually, because we don't have to use any of the man-made fertilizer or manure again once it's planted. So that is good news. We can unhitch that and we can put the Volvo away in the shed. And it has actually been quite a long day's work getting all of the manure spread and then watching Richard plant the potatoes and then doing some of the ridge marking or compacting ourselves and then seeing Richard finish up with Westcreek South. So we'll hop in the pickup and head back to the homestead, and that is going to be it for today's work. In terms of next month, I think Newfield is going to be ready to mow, and we did promise to make some hay from that, so probably be looking to use the batwing mowers, mow that open cut and then ted it and windrow it. Alternatively, we could still use the hay bine and use the hay bob, which can ted the grass whilst it is in a swath and it returns it to a swath. So a couple of options there, but it has been a long time since we've used a windrower and so forth, so potentially an opportunity for us to look at some slightly different equipment. But yeah, that is pretty good for the plans for next month. There, we can park the pickup back in there. Fantastic. But that is it for today. I hope you have enjoyed watching. If you have, remember to drop a like and subscribe if you haven't already. If you've got any tips, tricks or things you'd like me to do, then feel free to leave a comment. But all there's left to say is hope to see you again next time on The Frontier Farmer, and until then, Catch you later. Cheers all. Bye bye.